Hey everyone, how's it going? It's a season of fear once more, and this time we're going to start it Cybertronian style, as we cover Transformers Halloween Special 2021. But before we begin, I need to correct a mistake I made a few years back when I first covered Robots in Disguise Volume 1. Yeah, still far from professional since I caught this not long after, but due to my incompetence, I forgot to correct myself when it was time to cover more than meets the eye. That being the brief history I gave regarding IDW's Transformers run. I forgot that it was actually not 2 phases in the original run, but 3. This mistake was mostly due to how, though I enjoy IDW's run, phase 3 isn't as different from 2, since it just continues progressing and streamlining what was going on at the time, like Starscream rising to power, rebuilding Cybertron, Rodimus and the Lost Light crew, looking for the Knights of Cybertron, etc. Not saying that's a bad thing, just made it a bit difficult to figure out if there was a new phase, at least until they started to sell the complete collection. Again, a simple mistake, but I should have double checked. Anyway, now that I've spent the first few minutes on this run on IDW, it's time to forget all that since this comic takes place in the IDW's second run of Transformers. Yeah, after IDW decided to conclude their 13-year run, concluding in their 2018 event, Unicron, where the Autobots face their greatest foe, Robot Master. We all wondered what was going to be next. Beast Wars, maybe expand a new movie continuity that was starting with the same year, or maybe something based around the new TV series at the time, Transformers Cyberverse. Well, yes and no. Though Beast Wars Mobley would get a comic later down the line, the main Transformers series would instead go back to square one, but do reverse to what the first series did. While the first series focused on the Earth stories and later on stories that took place after the war ended, this new run would actually focus on events before the war. Not saying that the first run didn't do that, but when they did, it was mostly through flashbacks, one-shots, and tie-in miniseries. But this second run would really dive into what caused all of this. How'd this new canon fare when they had to do their first and only Halloween special? Well, let's find out. Warning, spoilers. Our story begins on Cybertron, in the city of Iacon, where we see everyone's favorite Decepticon Starscream greeting the locals, who look very fleshy today. Oh god, we're in the Beast Machines era. Run! Actually, they're an alien species called the Void who have been given refuge on Cybertron. Something Starscream isn't too happy about, but is distracted when he overhears Megatron planning on giving him the task of hunting down some Autobots. However, fellow Decepticon Six-Shot pleads to Megatron to reconsider as Starscream is loyal, but it seems he's more loyal to himself. What? No, Starscream being conceited? Impossible. Megatron mentions Starscream's mentor, Cryak, and how she seemed to be mostly dedicated to Cybertron, and how she was practically Starscream's mother, as she was the one who was teaching him the instant he was forged, and that Cryak's teachings seemed to be affecting Starscream's actions. Six-Shot doesn't deny that, but after her gruesome end, he believes that traumatized Starscream, and that those views that he treasured could have been warped by that. Megatron doesn't fully believe that, but is at least convinced enough to reconsider having Starscream run the mission. Of course, disappointing Starscream as he heads off in anger. He is then greeted by some Decepticons who tell Starscream that they saw a ghost, a legend of Cybertron. Starscream scoffs at the idea of a ghost, oh the irony, but starts to see it as an opportunity, since he thinks that it could be Autobots attempting to trick them. Heads out thinking that it will be easy, since the area is a place that his mentor took him all the time. As this is going on, the story has been narrated by Cryak, or at least her ghost, as she reveals that this place, the Wasteland, was where she was put to rest. Eventually, he comes across a Void. He believes it escaped and has been using the device on its head to feed off the planet's energon. Starscream can't accept that and cuts the line, but doing so causes an interesting event. An event that leads Starscream's spark to go inside the creature. Oh god, it is Beast Machines! Horrified by their organic form, Starscream desperately tries to break free, but after some time, he learns that he's not entirely trapped within the creature, moving his spark around until he comes across his old mentor, Cryak, who's seen better days. Turns out that she didn't die immediately after she was laid to rest in the Wasteland. Her body was paralyzed, and for years, she stayed there, starving, in pain, waiting for death until her spark left her body. But instead of returning to the Allspark, her spark wandered in the land. She remained there until the Void got entangled, and she found refuge in its body. Unfortunately, they were both stuck, and as a form of desperation, she had the Void howl into the night, hoping someone would come to investigate. So in fact, it was a ghost in a sense. So, Starscream has finally found her, but what does that mean for him? Can he avoid the fate his mentor suffered? And can Cryak be trusted? Or is she more of a trickster than her apprentice? Well, it's going to be difficult to find this comic for a while, given they lost the rights, but you're going to have to read it to find out. This comic is a fun, spooky story filled with horror, and it's a good character spotlight for Starscream. The comic's written by Dan Waters, who's had a pretty solid track record in writing horror comics, like Coffin Bound by Image Comics, Sci-Fi with Limbo, and the more fantastical with his current run at DC, like the ongoing series, Sword of Azrael. And he definitely shows that he can blend the three pretty damn well. Now, is it a perfect story? Not really. Due to it only being 30 pages, it doesn't have enough time to really get into the truly disturbing concept of being trapped within another being's reality. Especially hurts as this comic's full title is I Have No Mouth and I Must Starscream, which gets its name from the Harlan Ellison short story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. If you recall, my buddy Sean recreated an animation a few years back, and despite only being essentially 51 minutes, he was able to capture a nightmarish-inducing madness that such a story has. The name feels like it was just done to remind us that his name is Starscream, and only taking the bare concept and reversing it by having machines being trapped inside the organic being instead of the other way around. The Void is barely a character. Unlike the AI in the story, there isn't much worth noting. Again, this isn't a bad story, but I will say if you're hoping for something as insane as the short story it's taking its name from, you'll be disappointed. Getting to characters, we of course have to begin with our favorite Decepticon, Air Commander, and Megatron's, I would say trusted right hand, but come on, we know who this is, Starscream. This was an interesting spotlight for the character, since this reveals a lot into his past, as this continuity actually tries to give an explanation on why he's the way he is. In this case, the death of his mentor. This change is kind of a mixed bag for me. On one hand, it does help this incarnation stick out, but on the other, it feels like it's kind of borderline cliche. To have it be, oh, he used to be a nice guy, but something really bad happened to him, and not just because he just wished for glory. However, it is not poorly written, and it is interesting to see Starscream actually show concern for someone other than himself, and even wanting to help them. Not to gain power, but because he really does want to help them. It's very fascinating to see him like this. We usually see this more compassionate side of Starscream during his later years, like in Armada or the original IDW run, so it's pretty refreshing to see it in the origin. Next, we got his former mentor, Cryak, who is actually an original character for this comic, and I gotta say, I like how they built her up. Before it's revealed that she's the narrator, we see Megatron speak of her as this great adventurer, and how Starscream interacts with her, it's as if he's talking to someone that he truly looked up to as a hero. Yet, as she talks, you're never sure if you can trust her, especially as she reveals herself to Starscream. You get an uneasy feeling that whatever she was before, it's not what's talking to us right now. As for the other characters like Megatron, Six Shot, they're really just there more for exposition, so I don't have much to say about them. But yeah, Cryak is a great OC, and I'd like to see her show up in other media. The art was done by Beth McGuire-Smith, who isn't a stranger to Transformers, since she did do a lot of the comics in the second run of IDW. But here, she really gets to show off more of her horror skills, with the twisted imagery of both Starscream's shock and horror as he becomes one with the Void, and also Cryak's design, as she's become this strange mesh of organic and inorganic, as she's been inside the creature for so long, especially with the creepy left eye. And the card by Now Rules is freaking great, with a lot of dark reds and purples, which does kind of give me this Color Out of Space vibe, which I really dig. All around, this was a good start to the Halloween season, and a nice creepy dive into the Transformers world. Of this recording, it's still unknown who will be having the rights to Transformers. My money's on Disney and Marvel, but whoever it is, let's hope they reprint this series, because this comic I highly recommend. It's not a perfect story, and definitely not if you're a fan of I Have No Mouth But I Must Scream, but if you're looking for something short, sweet, horrifying, I'd say roll out. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and if you're looking for more creepy comics, let me recommend you guys to check out Sean's comic Out and About on Twitter. It's trippy, horrifying, and a bit funny. I'll leave a link in the description down below. And next time, we'll talk about a comic that's a little bit more groovy.